Hi, I'm Peggy Bendroth, and we're here at the Congregational Library today with Patricia Appelbaum. Patricia was here to do a brown bag lunch for us on St. Francis, everybody's saint. And we are fortunate enough to have her stay with us and answer a few questions so that those of you who weren't able to come to Boston can get a taste of what we had here. The first question I have for you is why did you get interested in this project? What drew you to it?
I would say that I have always known about St. Francis. I don't remember a time when I first learned about him. He was just kind of always there. And I came from a conventional, in fact, a rather left-wing Protestant household, and yet St. Francis was just a part of our lives, part of the atmosphere. I thought of him as a nice man who liked birds and wore a long brown robe, and not much more than that. And then when I went to graduate school, many years later, of course, we read some documents attributed to St. Francis, and I was shocked at what I saw. It seems that he loved the Pope, and he said all the Franciscan brothers needed to be good Catholics. He revered priests. He honored the sacraments. This was certainly not the St. Francis that I had grown up with. So I sensed a disjunction there, and I wanted to explore that further.
So, well, that leads to my next question. Why do Protestants like this Catholic saint? And I know you have a whole book about this, but I'm going to ask you to just give us a quick answer.
Okay. Well, there are many, many reasons. Yes, it's true. But one of the most important is that people seem to need saints. Even though Protestants have historically rejected the category of formal sainthood, of course, people seem to seek out individuals with a particular kind of spiritual power. Moderns as well, modern people, modern thinkers tend to reject the excess and the marginal nature of many saints, but people keep looking for it. They're looking for intensity. They're looking for thinking outside the box. They're looking for something different. Philip Zaleski, Philip Zaleski, the editor and writer, in an article about saints canonized by Pope John Paul II, said that he had worked, of course, with many dissenting and questioning Christians and with outright unbelievers. And he says that no matter how reluctant people are to embrace any kind of church hierarchy, they love the saints. The saints appeal to everybody, he said.
I just have to ask you, what was surprising or unusual? Do you have a story to tell us about what you found?
One thing that did surprise me was how much Francis is still present today. A historian friend of mine, an emeritus professor, when I told him about this book that I was working on, he kind of looked skeptical and he said, "Isn't St. Francis's day over?" I think he was thinking about the kind of pseudo-hippie St. Francis of the 1960s, and he thought that had faded from public view, and he was quite right. But there has been a steady stream of publication, movies, artworks, and of course, internet material about Francis all through the last quarter of the 20th century and into the 21st. There are many new works that have come out even in the last 10 years. I can try to account for that. I maybe won't go into that right now, but it did surprise me. I too had thought his day might have been past, but it isn't.
Well, I guess as I listen to you, the question that I have to end with, that everyone out there is probably thinking, we now have a Pope whose name is Francis. And I wonder if you can just comment on that. Why is that important? Or why do you think he saw this connection?
Okay. I think it's very significant that when Francis was installed as Pope, in the huge crowd in St. Peter's Square, there were people holding up signs that said, "Francis, rebuild my church." They were alluding directly to one of the earliest stories about St. Francis and applying that, asking that of Pope Francis.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, you see what you all missed. So come again, look for Patty's book, and thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.